Good to have you back. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, has denied reports of a value-added tax VAT rate increase from 7.5% to 10%. In a statement, Edun clarified that the VAT rate remains unchanged at 7.5% as stipulated in the nation's tax laws. Edun emphasized the importance of a balanced tax system built on three key pillars: tax policy, tax laws, and tax administration. He reassured Nigerians that fiscal policies aim to promote sustainable economic growth, alleviate poverty, and support businesses. Now, the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, strongly criticized a proposed increase of a value-added tax rate from 7.5% to 10%. He also warned that this move will be a very blazing inferno, a disastrous move, and would further destabilize Nigeria's fragile economy.
His criticism follows recent disclosures by the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, whose committee has recommended an upward review of the value-added tax from the present 7.5% to 10% by 2025. We're joined this morning by investment banking executive and public affairs analyst, Nnemeka Obiaraeri. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. You've seen the recommendations by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele and as well as the rebuttal by the Wale Edun. Do you think that this is maybe some medicine after death? Do you think that they probably initially were going to be open to that suggestion? I mean, we've seen a number of people say, no, it's because of the public outcry against it is why they're backing down.
To be very honest, if Nigeria is a working economy, if Nigeria is an economy that is productive based, like Mexico, like Vietnam, like South Africa, like South Korea, like Indonesia and Malaysia, paying VAT of 10% is not out of place. I took out time to look at VAT rates in different jurisdictions and climes. Why the outcry is so loud is because of the current perilous, current poverty state situation of a majority of Nigerians. Today, over 197 million Nigerians cannot comfortably do 3 square meals in a day. So I understand the outcry, I understand the political angle to it, the politicians coming out to, and that is the truth, because as at the current state of Nigeria, it will not be advisable to impose any tax rates on Nigerians. But ideally, if Nigeria was to be a very productive nation, productive as we used to have it between 1960 and 1966, VAT rate of 10% is not out of place. And that is the truth. And again, we also need to look at even the way the VAT returns are distributed. Under a truly federative republic like we used to have it during the First Republic, tax rates should actually be fixed by the federative units. They collect those VAT rates, keep 50% of it, 30% to the center, and then 20% to the federal government. That will just have very few items on the exclusive list. Such competitive approach will make the federative units to look inward and be more productive. So I understand the reason for the outcry and those even who want to capitalize the opposition to play politics. But the truth is, if we are to be an ideal productive nation, 10% VAT rate will not be out of place.
Yeah, and do you see that we might be moving in maybe baby steps into being that productive nation that you speak of?
To be very honest, to turn Nigeria into a productive hub is the easiest thing to do. Sometimes I look around me and I muse at the level of insensitivity, at the level of wickedness, at the lack of patriotism and sincerity on the part of the political class across the 3 tiers and arms of government. Nigeria is one country, that can easily produce and export nothing less than $600 billion worth of non-oil and non-oil exports. Netherlands, 22 million people. Less than that, 41,000 square kilometer landmass. Only about 1.9 million hectares of it arable. They export $643 billion worth of commodities. Vietnam, $399 billion. See, personally, personally and with my team, we've dissected this economy. And I can tell you off the cuff where we can generate these returns and how we can do it easily within the next 6 months. But the problem we have is that we don't have leaders across the 3 tiers and arms of government. 99% of them do not care about productivity, do not care about the welfare of the. All they just see, they see political avenue as avenue to enrich themselves, enrich their cronies, and get away with it. Insecurity can be slain in less than 6 months. It's very, very simple. And that is at the cost of it. Even corruption is not even the problem. And I tell you the truth. Even in the midst of the corruption, because what the corruption have done in Nigeria is that it has distorted things. If we tackle, for us to tackle corruption, we need to tackle the foundation. And what is the foundation? The fiscal, the constitutional, and the electoral reforms, urgent reforms to enable those with good minds, with passion, with skills, with knowledge, with patriotism, like Abafemi Awolowo, like Michael Okpara, to be at the helm of affairs. I give you an example. Insecurity in Nigeria, which is at the root of most of our problems, very easy to solve. In every of the electoral wards, select 100 youths. Let the community select their sons who are qualified, who are not criminals, who are educated, to form what we call agro rangers. Take them to the military formations, train them optimally, equip them, give them AK-47, AK-49. Provide 4 armored personnel carriers in every local government area. Innocent and not can produce it. Give them drones. Then set up agro clusters, 300 to 1,000 hectares, industrial agro clusters. Osarege, we've done these numbers. We have a complete of how this thing can be done in an integrated way. The federal government partnering with the state and local government. In less than 6 months, we will destroy insecurity. In less than 1 year, we will bring into this economy $250 billion agro export after ensuring 99% domestic food self-sufficiency. You know, on our private sector level, we are doing it. But the question is, sometimes I feel like losing my mind. I don't understand why these things cannot be implemented. Very, very easy. Also, again.
All right. I mean, if I make reference to what you've just said, you've given suggestions on how we can, you know, make the best of the times that we're in. You talked about fighting insecurity, but you also mentioned, it was going to be my next question to ask if you have faith in the current administration to be able to make this nation a productive nation that can then afford to get to the 10% taxation. But like you said, you did say that, our leaders are very selfish. If we go back to what Taiwo Oyedele said, he said that, you know, our tax rate is abysmally low, our revenue is abysmally low. So with the current reality that we have, is there any way that we can work with what we have to be able to help us get the best, you know, in that regard?
See, let me tell you, you know, there is this unfortunate, so much concentration on an emphasis at the federal level. In fact, yes, the federal government wins a lot of power and influences. But I actually tell you that where the real power lies is with the governors. Forget the fact that they say the president is the commander-in-chief. If we have 24 altruistic governors who are very sincere, let me tell you, these governors practically control members of the National Assembly that comes from their states. These governors, if they decide today that they want to make life unbearable for Mr. President, do you remember that in this Fourth Republic, between 1999 and 2003, Atiku Abubakar, even as vice president, was so powerful because he was so aligned with the governors that Obasanjo had to beg him. That is how powerful the governors are. And see, paying tax is not an issue. Nigerians can actually pay the right taxes. But it's only a man who is productive. It's only a man who has a living economy. It's only a man who has a living income that can be able to pay tax. I said to you, 197 million Nigerians cannot even feed themselves, cannot even meet up their physiological needs of shelter, of clothing, of feeding. South Africa, annually they do over $126 billion. Taxation contributes about $81 billion. Minimum wage there is 320,000 naira. Nigeria can easily grow an economy that can add over $500 billion annually. We can easily build a $1 trillion economy in 3 years. But we need to foundations that will make this economy become very productive. And what are those foundations? Even before we go in the medium term of constitutional amendment, if the governors are sincere, we've brought up suggestions on how they can mutually tackle insecurity, put their people to productive work, do massive export. I was talking to one of the big airlines that come into Nigeria. They listened to some of my podcasts, and they said to me, "Doctor, we can work together. We can set up storage centers at some of the major airports in Nigeria, so that if we bring in cargoes of goods into Nigeria, rather than go empty, we can take some of the outputs you've been suggested that we produce and export them for you guys." Nigeria can easily be productive. But the problem is, the governors need to sit down, work with the federal government of Nigeria to tap into the latent potentials and sectors in Nigeria. The focus sector should be agric and solid mineral. Oil is even nothing. I'm telling you the truth. Oil should actually be our working capital for a country like Nigeria. The crude oil we have can only serve as a working capital. We have other sectors like agric, like solid minerals, that can give us times 10 what we are getting today from crude oil.
Mr. Obiaraeri.
They will just need working governors partnering with the federal government with good heads.
Yeah, all right. I mean, we're 2 years, almost 2 years into the new, administration. I'm not sure if they maybe are thinking in the same direction, but only time will tell. And another 4 years is going to be over. And then, of course, we'll be, asking what we've achieved in the last 4 years with, making Nigeria more productive. But thank you very much for your ideas. I think, if one person is listening every now and then, they might pick one or two things from it. Thanks for stopping by. And we look forward to speaking with you again, as always.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.